Well, hi there. Thank you for watching my videos. I really appreciate that. In our introduction to the soul, we said that the soul is part of the intermedia of all forming worlds. So today we are going to take it a step further, and we will say that soul and life itself is a unity of the interforming media of all worlds. It's a real tongue twister for me. The soul and life is the interpower of all forming worlds. In order for us to orientate us to this idea, we are going to have to look at associating the following few things with each other. I'm giving a little bit of background, so we are going to have to look at associating these following things with each other. There are three things for now. The first is the highest good. The second is the most beautiful. And the third is love itself. These three essences are the seat proceeding through all worlds, seen and unseen. We may indeed say that these three essences, unities, are unbroken in themselves, hence the name unity. These three most divine unities proceed through all worlds, including our world of, shall we say, birth and destruction, and all worlds unseen. In addition to this, there are many wholenesses and essences above the worlds of matter, above the whole sensibility. But of these we will treat at a later time. Power, therefore, is the intermedia proceeding through all worlds forming. Proceeding meaning is everywhere, all the time, and is something that is everywhere in all worlds. But who is this power, the interpower of all forming living worlds? It is the Divine Mother. The Mother is the power of the Father. The Divine Mother and the Divine Father are symmetries, unity, one unity seated above everything, every world, every matter world. First exhibited, says the great myth, by God. Exhibited, outformed, projection. The Mother, therefore, the divine soul, all life, is the hidden middle power of the Father. All forming media proceeding through all worlds and everything, therefore, is the power of the Mother. But this is none other as all life, always forming, and part of the divine intermedia of all forming worlds. my unity as a complex unity as a human being forms on this basis. There is more. The father and the mother, therefore, are a unity and always are together. There are three ideas that should be associated with the soul: wholeness, indestructibility, and impartibility. Wholeness, that the soul is a wholeness, a divine wholeness in herself, and that we are parts participating within such a wholeness. That the soul is indestructible, for she is seated in the good, the beautiful, and in love herself. Seat means it's fixed, and it's fixed. You can't shake it up, you can't break the foundation of it. Impartible, meaning the soul cannot be torn apart, ripped apart, or the soul is a wholeness. But it is partible, for we are parts participating within the whole. So the soul is both impartible and partible. By analogy, we may say that which is a wholeness and that which is impartible never departs from itself, because it is eternal, it is seated above eternity itself. But the partible departs from wholeness itself through many divisions, separations, and difference. This brings us to the human soul. Who questions his world? Do you question your world? I think that perhaps your world, meaning your world perspective, as we have said many times in our videos, that we have, each human being possesses his world perspective, his perceiving, forming. So now you can begin to see why I'm using the expression perceiving, forming. Because forming is part of the intermedia of all worlds, including mine and yours. And our perception is always forming. But thus forming, or to form my perception, is a creator, is the most creative part of my being, of me as a human being. And so this is the interconnection with the intermedia of all forming worlds, the soul. And the soul has a twofold capability, the human soul: external looking and internal looking. And we've touched upon this in our earlier videos, but we'll come back to it because it's a very, very important aspects of the human soul. To come back to our earlier observations, who questions? Who's the finger pointer? Who blames the others for their difficulties, their problems they experience in their life? Who owns his emotions, his passions, and the things he does? I hold, in addition, that all life always prayer, whether you like it or not. So you might say, I'm a crazy person, and you'd probably be right. Who goes around questioning his idea of himself and his world? I think it should be questioned fundamentally and primarily. But here is the thing. Not unusually, this kind of questioning of what is my world about, why is all these things happen to me, happens exactly because there is super massive upheavals in a person's life experience. Someone dies unexpectedly. Um, you lose your job. The government closes your business down because of the global virus pandemic. What do you do now? The bank's not going to wait for you. The bank has no benevolence in it. Your landlord isn't going to wait for you. What now? What are you going to do? Your livelihood's gone. This is the kind of super limits that we are faced at various times in our lives. You lose a partner. Losing a job can lead to depression, drug abuse, and all kinds of debilitating things. I think that the design of difficulty and limits in one's life is exactly this: to awaken the soul, to begin a path of prayer. Why do we pray? Well, first of all, let's see. When we pray, what do? We look towards heaven. We incline to heaven. Well, what is in heaven that we desire so much when we pray for a release from difficulty, a limitation, or a life condition, or a change of mind we need that needs healing, for example? You might find it strange to hear me talk about prayer, but prayer is fundamental to life. All life prays, I think, for its perfection. Everything every decision we make is a prayer. But we are not aware of our prayers. This awakening of the soul through difficulty is called catharsis. It is a psychological difficulty that needs to overcome. Now, not all people need catharsis, but some people, like myself, did. And so here we are talking about the human soul and a long life of inquiry about my own world. So a difficulty in life reached is really the acknowledgement that it sucks. And there's no end to that deep, dark, bottomless pit that I can sink into. And usually it follows depression. It's followed by a depression and a terrifying thing that says to myself, there's no worthy thing in me. That's my self-worth is completely destroyed, and the thing I had in my mind of myself is also gone. Usually these are the times that humans incline themselves to heaven, and this has been done throughout the ages and epochs of time. What is in heaven then that we desire, that make us incline there? Truth, the faith of the stars, or love? These three, truth pulls us up to a conversion of our understanding. It's not seated in the exterior world, it's seated in the internal world of prayer. and a change of mind. This is what we seek, what we look for. Is such a prayer not a prayer for release from limits, limitation, debilitation, or something wrong with my body, or, as I said, my life, and things like that? What do we do when it's finished, when things are going okay for us? We stop praying. We forget about the difficult times we had, and we close the door ourselves. Love, as we said, possesses a seat in the most holy of holies. And it is to love that we incline in prayer for a change of mind, a healing, a lifting of the limits, an overcoming of the obstacles. But didn't we, in our preamble to all of this, our introduction of some ideas that we've given, didn't we say that the soul is part of the intermedia of the forming, of all forming worlds, including the complex unity of me and every human being that walks on the earth today? Didn't we say that? If this now is the case, the idea I have of myself never is without soul, or without love, or without beauty, or without goodness. For we said these three essences proceed through all worlds, also through the world of Mother Earth, and through all the animals that possesses a subsistence through the actions of nature. To these essences, it seems, to me, all life inclines, forever moving to the perfection that's within. And that's the purpose of inward-looking prayer, is this internal movement of the soul, of the intermedia within me, within you, that releases us from certain pressures and limitations we experience in our lives. It does look to me as if there's no human being that's alone. It does look to me on these bases so far that we're intimately tethered to the highest of divine beings through the interforming media of the Mother and the Father, for these both are necessary in any forming world, the paternal and the maternal energies. But isn't this now saying that every being, human being, and every sensible being forms on this basis, and that our forming as and our experience as a part, we are coming to this, as a part within the wholeness of the whole world soul, is tethered with these three divine essences as our internal summit. It is impossible for any sensible being in any nature to form without the wholeness of the world soul. We therefore are an intimate part, participating of the world soul. My mother used to say, where there's smoke, there's fire. Buried under the ideas we have of Darwin, I'm using Darwin as a metaphor. The poor man probably didn't know what his name is used for today. This world that we accept for the physicality it is, and that this is all there is, all this matter that we have, changing lives, changing births, changing, destroying itself in circles. In some philosophies, this is a linear workings of nature. Even in our mathematics today, we say, well, nature is going to give up her secrets. But didn't we say automata doesn't have any forethought? How is this possible then? Now, isn't it because the soul is most forgotten and buried under the heavy blankets that we have pulled over our psychology from a crazy idea? Do we not, when we do this, overlook love and the formative of knowledge itself? In the last two videos of our Wordiverse, we have come to the discovery of living knowledge, life, all life. Living knowledge, part of the intermedia of all forming worlds, including you and I as living complex unities. That prayer, therefore, could be viewed as an internal looking change of mind. Shall we start there? Because all difficulties, actually all celebrations are a way of acknowledging, shall we say, the glory of the divine within. In our contemplations, which should be our prayers, or can be, prayer is a contemplation. Oblivion is also a contemplation. And it's also a prayer. All life is a divine prayer inclining to the highest of perfections. Our next video, the human soul, will follow shortly. Until then, be loving to yourself and be kind to others.